everyone, welcome to Literary Lovers channel. Today let's look upon a summary of Shakespeare again. That's Shakespeare play, All's Well That Ends Well. It's written in between 1602 to 1607. It's in England, and it's published in 1623 at the period of the Renaissance. Genre is drama and comedy, and it sets in a place Rosaline and Paris, France, Florence, Italy. So, protagonist of the Helen is the protagonist of the play, and antagonist is Bertram. This plot of the play, All's Well That Ends Well, is based on a story from Johann Boccaccio's collection of tales, the Decameron. It's written in Italian. Shakespeare was likely familiar with the English version of this tale in a collection of stories called The Palace of Pleasure, which is written by William Painter. So, one suggestion, my dear friends, please do learn English novels in English itself. So, let's continue the story. Character in the play are Helen, Bertram. Helen as the protagonist, I told you. Bertram. Helen going to marry this, and that is the only goal she has in the whole play. And at the end of the play, she'll get succeed. That is Bertram. So this the Countess of Rosaline is the mother of Countess, is the mother of Bertram, who is the antagonist of the play. The King of France is at the absolute top of the social hierarchy in the play. The fool, it means the person who is present to make whole court to be happy, and like Joker. So it's a love. They are love you. Who is in service of Countess. The fool is under the service of Countess at Rosaline. And Love You is also another character. Parolles, a friend of Bertram, and Parolles has a deceitful, tricky character. So at the end of the play, he tricked this Bertram and showed his real color of nature. Love You, a French nobleman and a friend of both the king and the countess. Countess, I told you, the mother of Bertram. Diana, a young woman in Florentine, who this Bertram tried to seduce this girl. So let's come to the play. At Rosaline, Bertram, the young count of Rosaline, is preparing to leave to go and stay with the King of France after his further death. His mother, Countess, is sad to see him and discuss the fact that the king is very ill. She also mentioned a famous doctor who is able to heal the king, okay? But he has recently died and left his daughter Helen under the countess' care, under the care of Bertram's mother. So standing nearby, Helen is crying, and the countess thinks that she is mourning for her father, but she is in love with the Bertram. Helen reveals that she is crying because of that. So Bertram's friend Parolles enters and talks earnestly about virginity with Helen, encouraging her not to keep it for too long. After the two trade some witty quips, Parolles leaves, and Helen develops a plan for trying to get Bertram. So she has because this Bertram has don't have any intention to marry this Helen, but she has a hope to marry him. At the king court in Paris, the king decides not to interfere in a dispute between the Italian cities of Florence and Siena. He will allow any nobleman who wants to fight go to Italy and join the dispute, though. Bertram arrives and the king greets him, remembering his father. So king welcomes because Bertram's father is very good person, a nobleman. The king adds that he wishes he were died like Bertram's father because he is so old and feeble. Back to Rosaline. Please, the countess discuss Helen with her steward. Steward as a character who serves the countess at Rosaline, okay, and learns that Helen loves Bertram. With the help of steward, she got to know. The countess calls for Helen and asks her if she has any feeling. She confesses her love. Then the countess does not seem to mind and asks Helen about her plans to go to Paris. Helen says she has come strong medicine that her father left her that she thinks can help the king and wants to go to Paris to try to cure him. She admits, though, that her real motive for going to Paris is to see Bertram. The countess says that the king probably won't even let Helen try to cure him since she is only a poor, unlearned virgin, but encourages her to go to anyway. So back to royal court. The king bets favor to some noblemen who are going off to fight in Italy. Bertram is upset that he is not allowed to go to join him. Okay, later Helen tells the king that she has a medicine for her famous father, father's medicines that could help him, but king refuses to believe that a young girl could help him when all his doctor have failed. So still a French nobleman named Lafeu asks the king if he'll try any remedies for his illness. King refuses. So Lafeu encourages this female doctor, this Helen, and later Helen says that she will bet her own life that she can cure him. Impressed, the king was impressed and says he will allow her to try to heal him and will reward with the choice of any husband from his court if she should be successful. At Rosaline, the countess ordered the fool, I told you it's a character, to write a letter to Helen in Paris. After some clever joking and teasing of the countess, the fool leaves with the letter. In Paris, Parolles, Bertram and Lafeu remark on the king's miraculous recovery and agree that God has healed the king through the weak minister of Helen. The king enters with Helen and has all his noble line up. He tells Helen that she can choose any of them she wishes to be her husband. Helen speaks several laws before settling on Bertram and saying, "This is the man." Bertram immediately upset and doesn't want to marry this Helen really. And king agreed. Helen is only for her lower social status and orders Bertram to marry her. And Bertram relents and to marry that night. Afterwards, Bertram tells Parolles that he plans to go fight in Italy and never return home to Helen. He says that he will never sleep with Helen, and Parolles and Bertram make preparation to go to Italy. Helen receives the full letter from the countess and then learns from Parolles that Bertram is going to Italy and wants her to return to Rosaline. She says she will obey her husband's command. Before Bertram leaves Paris, Lafeu advises him not to trust Parolles, who is a friend who is coming along with him, but he is actually a coward. But Bertram has misjudged his friend's character, Lafeu the characters, and Bertram bids goodbye to Helen and then tells Parolles that he'll never see her again. The two then leave for Italy. In Florence, the Duke welcomes the French noblemen who have come up to help them and says they will go to the battlefield next day. Back to Rosalind, the Countess receives a letter from the Bertram that telling her that he has decided to never sleep with Helen and has run away to Italy. This Countess' mother gets furious regarding as her own son, and Helen arrives and shows the Countess her letter. Countess shows her letter, and in which she also gets a letter, and in which he says that he'll never be her husband until she gets his ancestral ring off his finger and is pregnant with his child. The countess is upset with her son. This is the main thing of the play. He has ordered that he said our rules that until this Helen gets pregnant and his ancestral ring, which is wore by this person Bertram, until that he won't accept Helen as his wife. And we need to know that he said again and again he never sleep with the Helen. So this is the question. The Countess is upset with her son's decisions and tells the Helen that she considered her daughter. She leaves Helen alone, and Helen decides to leave Rosalind, since the only reason Bertram has no plan to return home is to avoid her, and she doesn't want to be cause of his being in danger in Italy. Meanwhile, in Italy, the Duke of Florence puts Bertram in charge of his cavalry, and Bertram promises to devote himself to war and be a hater of war. In Rosalind, the Countess finds a letter left by Helen that informs Helen left Florence, informs her that Helen has left to go on a pilgrimage to the shrine. Shrine means temple of Saint Jacques, so that Bertram can return home. The Countess even angry with her son and writes him so that he will come home. In Florence, a disguised Helen runs into a widow and her daughter named Diana. Diana's mother is widow. She went in disguise. She learned that Bertram has been trying to seduce this Diana, but Diana has been defending her chastity against him. She don't want to get involved with involve a relationship with the Bertram. And elsewhere in Florence, a group of French noblemen warn Bertram that he should not trust Parlos. So they advise a plan to expose Parlos as the crowd he has by sending him on a mission to recover a lost military drum. So their plan, Lafayette plan to show this Parlos as a coward. So they send their own enemy in the uniform of opposite warriors. So they tell Bertram that Parlos will divulge his secret and betray his allies in order to save his own life. Bertram agrees to the plan and then goes off to try to seduce Diana. At Diana's house, Helen reveals her true identity and promises the widow gold if she and Diana will help her with her plan. Helena, she is the one who said instead of Diana. So Diana, to pretend to give her the Bertram's advances in return for his ancestral ring, she got a promise that at that night Helen will take Diana's place in her bed and sleep with Bertram in the dark. Diana and the widow got golden coins as Helen promised her. Then next, having gone to find the drum, Parlos decides to pretend that he has tired to find it and face the enemy by giving himself some small wounds. He is abused, though by the French nobleman who blindfold him and speak in nonsense so that he thinks they are speaking a foreign language. They tell Parlos that his life will be spared if he can give them valuable information about Florentine forces. Parlos says, all the secrets of our camp I will show. Elsewhere in Florence, Bertram continues to try to seduce Diana. Diana asks the Bertrams to give her his ring, and he resists but finally agrees to, thinking that he has won her over. Two French noblemen discussed discuss about some recent news. They have learned Helen, Helen got dead on her way of pilgrimage. Bertram has incurred the everlasting displeasure of the king, and the countess and Siena and Florence have made a peace treaty. So Bertram's Antos and the nobleman have Parlos brought in. Parlos betrays his allies and speaks ill of Bertram, and Bertram got to know the real Parlos. And Helen was success in her plan. Lophius tells the countess that he has spoken to the king about the Bertram possibly marrying his daughter now. So, because Lophius has a desire that to marry his daughter to Bertram. So Bertram arrives at Rosaline, Helen the widow. Then Diana arrives in Marcellus, only to learn that king has gone to Rosaline. Helen gives a letter to a gentleman to deliver to the king before the three set out for Rosaline. Parolles arrives in Rosaline and finds Lophius. He tells Lophius what has happened to him and begs him to bring me in some grace. And he allows Parolles to enter into his service. He calls him to get a service. So, at the place, king speaks, countess, and mourns the loss of Helen. He don't know Helen is present there itself in disguise. He says that he has forgiven Bertram, though, and now wants Bertram to marry Lophius' daughter. Bertram enters and apologizes to the king, and deserted and dishonoring Helen. The king tells him not to dwell on the past and inform him of the plan to marry him to Lophius' daughter. Lophius asks Bertram for a token to give to his daughter as a gift from him. Bertram gives him a ring that he believes Diana gave him in Florence. In fact, it was Helen who gave it to him while they were sleeping together. King recognizes that the ring has one he gave to Helen and questions Bertram about it. Bertram denies that the ring was Helen's, and the king calls him a liar. He wonders if Bertram had something to do with Helen's death and has him carried away. The gentleman Helen met and Marcellus arrives and delivers her letter to the king. So it is written by Diana and accuses Bertram of promising to marry her and then running away after taking her virginity. The king sends for Diana, and Lophius says that he will not let his daughter marry Bertram now. Bertram and Diana are brought forth, and Bertram calls Diana a liar. Diana produces Bertram's ancestral ring as proof of his promises to her, and the countess recognizes the ring as its ancestral ring, saying it has a proof of attachment between Diana and Bertram. And Diana asks for her ring from Bertram. When he gives that ring, king recognizes it's Helen's ring and approaches him. The king is ready to throw the Diana in prison when Helena finally enters, to the amazement of everyone who thought she was dead. Helen tells Bertram that she has fulfilled his condition. She is bearing his child and has got his ancestral ring from him, and he says that he will love her and be her husband. Realizing what has happened, the king says that Diana can choose any husband she wants from his court, as long as she is yet a fresh uncropped flower. He ends the play by saying, "All yet seems well, and if it ends so, meet the bitter past, more welcome is the sweet," emphasizing how everything has apparently come to a happy end just after the king comes back on the stage in a brief epilogue. So thank you, my dear friends. This is the brief summary of play All's Well That Ends Well. Thank you, and please subscribe to the channel and share Thank you. Offers promises to her, and the countess recognized the ring as its ancestral ring, saying it has a proof of attachment between Diana and Bertram. And Diana asks for her ring from Bertram. When he gives that ring, King recognizes it's Helen's ring and approaches him. The king is ready to throw the Diana in prison when Helena finally enters, to the amazement of everyone who thought she was dead. Helen tells Bertram that she has fulfilled his condition. She is bearing his child and has got his ancestral ring from him. And he says that he will love her and be her husband. Realizing what has happened, the king says that Diana can choose any husband she wants from his court, as long as she is yet a fresh uncropped flower. He ends the play by saying, "All yet seems well, and if it ends so, meet the bitter past, more welcome is the sweet," emphasizing how everything has apparently come to a happy end just after the king comes back on the stage in a brief epilogue. So thank you, my dear friends. This is the brief summary of play All's Well That Ends Well. Thank you, and please subscribe to the channel and share. Thank you. Offers promises to her, and the countess recognized the ring as its ancestral ring, saying it has a proof of attachment between Diana and Bertram. And Diana asks for her ring from Bertram. When he gives that ring, King recognizes it's Helen's ring and approaches him. The king is ready to throw the Diana in prison when Helena finally enters, to the amazement of everyone who thought she was dead. Helen tells Bertram that she has fulfilled his condition. She is bearing his child and has got his ancestral ring from him. And he says that he will love her and be her husband. Realizing what has happened, the king says that Diana can choose any husband she wants from his court, as long as she is yet a fresh uncropped flower. He ends the play by saying, "All yet seems well, and if it ends so, meet the bitter past, more welcome is the sweet," emphasizing how everything has apparently come to a happy end